Good evening, everyone. I know I am late, but it is for good reason. I had three performances to do today for the Sidewalk Serenade series at the Creative Alliance. Shout out to everyone who came out. I greatly appreciate it. Welcome. I know it's been a while. We have a lot to discuss. So much so that I don't even know if we can cover it in one meeting. Just a heads up, we will be reading the Bolton book starting on Tuesday. The reason why we're starting on Tuesday, I do have my free copy, okay, is because I want to kind of sift through it and get to the meat of the book. I don't want to sit and figure that out in front of you guys. I want to kind of get to the point. Hello to everyone. I hope that you've had a great weekend. Like I said, sorry I'm late, but I had 3 shows today. But nevertheless, it's been good. How have you been doing? How has your weekend been? Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. We salute you and celebrate you. It's interesting because today's cabinet meeting, and I don't want to take away from Father's Day, but it's something that people have been asking me to address. And they've been asking me to look into, and it's something that I want to dedicate the proper time to, as far as our black women. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what it's like to be a black woman. I know what it's like to be black, but I don't know what it's like to be a black woman. Oh, thank you, Rashida. I miss you too. So I'm not going to pretend that I know. And I toyed with, like, should I have black women come on? And I wanted to do that, but honestly, from a scheduling standpoint, and people's prior commitments, I really had to go against that. Not that I didn't want to, but I wanted to give the perspective and kind of speak on some things and just bring light to certain things that have happened over the past week. And how we can, how do we protect our black, women in the community in regards to that. So, first I want to say this. There is no, in my opinion, no right answer or right way to atone for this, per se. And I want to touch on two specific issues. Now, the horrible tragedy that is Breonna Taylor, the cops haven't been charged. They've been fired, but they haven't been charged from the last reports that I've seen. And while Breonna Taylor is in the conscious of the nation, I think it's two different types of awareness, right? I feel like the excuse for, and this is just my thoughts here, I don't want people to cancel me or think that I'm a bad person, We're just having a discussion, or I'm just talking to y'all through this screen, right? I think it's easier for people to, and I'm speaking specifically to black men in the black community, to kind of like gloss over the Breonna Taylor incident because we don't see it. It's not a video like, George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? But it definitely, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, it definitely has not gotten the urgency. Okay? The urgency that some of the other cases have gotten. And not to say that one person's life, one person's incident shouldn't be highlighted more than the other, but I feel like the court system, and as black men, myself included, I have to take that L as well. I don't feel like we're going as hard for our women sometimes as they do for us. And that's just being real. Guys, I know some of you are going to tune out of this one, but it doesn't feel the same. Even when you look at, the founders of Black Lives Matter, those are women. And I feel like we're not going as hard for our sisters as we go for our brothers. And it's not, I don't want to argue, be clear, because I see some of the comments. I don't want to argue. I don't want to cancel anybody. I want to just have this conversation. This is me talking, okay? And I want to highlight 2 cases, okay, outside of Breonna Taylor, okay? I want to first look at the case of Oluwatoyin Salau, okay? And I toyed around. I'm going to be honest with y'all because there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot happening. The fireworks is keeping me up, getting on my goddamn nerves. But it's a lot happening. And I want to go over this issue in the sad murder. So Oluwatoyin Salau, activist, protester, Black Lives Matter, young girl, 19 years old, okay? I wish that I didn't have to sit here and say that she was murdered at all, okay? I definitely wish I didn't have to sit here and say she was murdered by a black man. And also a lot of the countless trans women who are murdered by black men. We got to have that discussion. And my aim here tonight is not to divide. It's for us to bring a light to these situations. So I'm going to start with Olu. So Olu was savagely and sadly murdered by Aaron Glee Jr., an older black man. And here's the thing. Before I get into this, I also am now having questions for some of these activist groups, not negating what you do, because what you do is important. But one thing that we might want to learn from prior civil rights and protest movements is having a network for people to have housing and places to stay, places where people can get meals from people who are in the network, and that are safe and verified, and where our women and our ladies, because that's the piece that we may be missing in this current incarnation of protesting for Black lives. You had that in place in the 60s. Okay? So I would love to see that piece because there's a lot of funds coming in. We need to have funds for people with protesters. As much as we like to get people out of jail, we need to have places for people to get home. There needs to be a Greyhound bus fund or something, a train fund. There needs to be a place where our girls can go and get a meal and lay their heads and not worried about being sexually assaulted or killed. Okay? So, I'm going to read this, and I don't want to read this as trauma porn, because we live in a time where even addressing the issue, people have a problem with you addressing the issue. Oh, you're capitalized. Oh, you did. Be clear. I don't want to have to read this, but I'm going to read it because it's important. I'm going to read 2 articles, one on a national level and one on a local level here in Baltimore. Okay? All right? So, okay. So, Aaron Glee Jr., and this is coming from USA Today. Aaron Glee Jr. confessed several times that he kidnapped and killed both Oluwatoyin Salau, a student and protester, and Victoria Sims, a volunteer and retired state worker, in grisly crimes that have horrified the community. According to newly released court documents, Glee waived his right to remain silent and gave his account of events to officers with the Tallahassee Police Department and the Orlando Police Department. They include shocking new details, including that Glee kept Salau prisoner in his rundown home for several days, raping her and eventually deciding to kill her to avoid getting caught. Okay? Salau went missing on June the 6th. Okay? The documents reveal that Salau and Sims, so Salau was 19, Olu was 19, Victoria Sims was 75, apparently met one another in the last days of their lives after Glee arranged for Sims to pick both him and Salau up at a bus stop. Okay? Now, they found Sims' body, the older lady, under a bloody sheet in a bedroom, and Salau's body under a pile of leaves in the woods behind the house. By that time, Glee had already bought a one-way ticket to West Palm Beach, where he had family members. Orlando police, working off of information from TPD, intercepted him at the Greyhound station and took him into custody. He complained of breathing problems and was taken to an Orlando hospital. I guess these cops was like, he ain't dying in our custody, even though he's a piece of shit. Where he openly chatted about the 2 murders, according to the arrest report. Okay? While at the hospital, he made voluntary admissions to officers guarding him that he had murdered 2 women in Tallahassee. He also placed a phone call to his mother and made the same admissions. Glee would admit in detail that on different dates, he had kidnapped and murdered both Salau and Sims. And this is why, as I read this story, this is why it's so important. And I'm going to say this to men. Don't be catcalling these ladies. Be respectful when you approach, because you know what, reading this story, I now understand, because I used to be like, why she got an attitude? He just thinks she pretty, blah, blah, blah. And now reading this story, I understand why women are apprehensive when things like that happen, because they live in fear. They don't know. Okay? So be respectful. So, Aaron Glee told investigators he struck up a conversation with Salau June 6th at a bus stop on Appalachia Parkway. She told him she had been sexually assaulted earlier in the day. Something she revealed publicly on Twitter. So she, in addition to what fate she was getting ready to meet, this young lady had already been violated. Already had been violated before she even met her death with another man. So here's a problem of taking advantage of people. Okay? Taking advantage of our young girls. And if you know young girls, help them. Help them. I'm now asking myself, these people she was protesting with, like, nobody was like, hey, sis, you good? Hey, sis, you got a way to get home? And I'm from Maryland. It's still considered a southern state. It's just certain shit that we do. And, we call people, hey, you get in the house? Say, like, where were these courtesies? So that's the first thing. He offered to take her to his house and to bathe and sleep. He said he had called Sims, who picked them both up in her white Toyota sedan. Video footage captured by Star Metro buses show that Salau left a Leon County Branch library on South Adams Street at 5:51 and arrived at the bus stop at 6:07. The footage also demonstrated that she and Glee did engage in an extended conversation while seated on a bench at the bus stop. The report says at approximately 7:07 p.m., a white Toyota, the same make and model of the one owned by Sims, arrived in the area of the bus stop. Glee and Salau departed in that Toyota moments later. Glee told investigators that after arriving at his house, Olu took a shower. He tried to have sex with her, but she said no and tried to fight him off. He stated that she physically resisted him and that she bit him upon his right forearm during the struggle. So Sis was fighting, but Glee overpowered her. He was asked if he would characterize his actions as rape. Glee responded yes. Glee said he kept Salau tied up and imprisoned in his home for 3 to 5 days, but wasn't sure how long exactly because he was heavily under the influence of alcohol, boy bye. However, he said he released her at times to eat and bathe. He admitted to sexually assaulting her numerous times during those 3 to 5 days. Glee, who has a prison record dating back decades, worried that if he were to let her go, he'd land behind bars again. Glee stated that he was aware that he would be arrested and likely sentenced to prison if he allowed Salau to leave the residence. The arrest report says, Glee indicated that he determined that the only course of action was to end her life. So, he was so worried about going to jail that he said, I just gotta kill her. 19 years old. And this is where it gets tough, but we need to hear this because we need to protect our girls. Okay? He bound her with rope in a manner he thought would cause her to die and left her in a bedroom. Glee explained how over the course of several hours, he would re-enter the bedroom multiple times to see if Salau was still alive. The report says, ultimately, he entered into the bedroom and determined she was deceased, so he watched this young lady die. This wasn't a cop. This was another black man. Police reports say Sims was also bound, so the older lady, he tied her up too. Investigators believe Glee ransacked her apartment on Blairstone Road, stole her car, and kidnapped her. Her car was found stuck in the mud outside his house. So what probably happened was this with the older lady, from what it seems like here. The older lady probably picked them up, being a nice lady. Oh, he probably called, I got this girl, she needs help and assistance. We need to get home. Can you come pick a, volunteer nice lady? She go and drop him off. So in his mind, this is why I don't believe the whole drunk shit, because you wasn't that drunk that you figured out this whole story. He goes and ransacks the apartment, kidnaps her, and kills her so that she can't say, oh, I dropped this young lady off at his house. What's going on? So he was in his right mind. He knew what was going on. It was definitely premeditated. And it's sad. 19 years old, a lady beginning her life. And then you have Victoria Sims, 75 years old, a lady in the autumn of her life who's probably seen some amazing things and lived through some crazy things, to have her life ended in that fashion after all that time. So he murdered a beginning and an end. We've got to do better with protecting our girls, our women. We've got to do better. And some could say, oh, this man's just a predator. He has a record. And that's very true. But like I said, there has to be, like, you know, for these organizations that are getting these thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, there has to be things in place like housing. You're 19 years old, you're homeless, you're out protesting, fighting for your voice. This young lady is fighting for her voice, fighting for the voices of her generation to exist. And we didn't take care of her. The system didn't take care of her. But we can't blame, we can't keep looking to the system, because I feel like in this community, in this protest, somebody should have been there. Somebody should have had this young lady back. Especially when she had already tweeted on Twitter days before about a sexual assault. Why wasn't she recommended to care? These are the questions that I ask myself. And as a community, we have to ask each other. Because while we are in a much better place as far as being able to organize using technology and things like that, I know from having, you know, elders in my family, there's well-documented accounts. They had safe houses and places for people to go. It dates back to the Underground Railroad, people. That money needs to be set aside for safe housing, hotel stays, something to get these people off the streets. And we failed this young lady. How do we move forward? First, we need to ask, where is this money coming from? Where's it going? As a community, we have to stop being afraid to speak with each other. We have to start having the conversation. We live in a time where it's so easy to cancel folks and cancel your own people, because that's easier than having the tough conversation. Guys, when you say, oh, fuck that bitch, you know, just because she don't like you or she doesn't have to acknowledge your advances. And you don't have to get nasty because you got rejected. Dominique Remy Fells. They found her chopped up in a suitcase. They're killing trans women. And you know what? To these men, and you know, I'm not sitting up here like I'm holier than thou. I don't want to sit and act like I'm just like the foremost authority on everything and I'm just so in touch. But I got common sense. And I'm going to tell you something. For all you men out here that are trans attracted, or you have issues with your sexuality that you refuse to face because you refuse to grow the fuck up and be an adult, that gives you no right to assault people and kill them. Okay? Also, too, seek therapy. I feel like it's a lot of black men that need therapy. I myself go to therapy. And it's the best thing that I've ever done. Your girlfriend is not your therapist, sir. Your mother is not your therapist, sir. Your wife is not your therapist, sir. Your daughter is not your therapist, sir. You need to seek the professional help. You need to live your life because your suffering is killing everybody else. Literally. Okay? So, I strongly recommend that we fix this. Somebody brought up the church. The church has a role to play in sexuality and how people are deemed. That is true. But the church is not going out killing people. They're not the ones doing the actual killing. And quite frankly, though the church does need work, we're not going to blame you being an adult and making terrible decisions because the pastor didn't agree with how you live your life. Because in life, we have choices. And at some point, you have to grow up, become an adult, and start making the right choices. Your father being around, that young lady has nothing to do with that. You can't use that as an excuse. You having a terrible relationship with your mother, I understand. But that's something that you got to work out with you and your mother. And if you're not in a place where you can handle that, then you need to stay by yourself and leave these girls alone. And start putting your hands on them. And like I said, I'm not saying I'm holier than thou, but I can honestly say I ain't never assaulted no woman. I ain't never disrespected no woman. I can say that and close my eyes at night and say that to God and be okay in knowing that truth. Can you? And that brings me to another case. Now, this is a case here in Baltimore City. Okay? Terrible case. So, here in Baltimore, we had a young mother who was 8 months pregnant with her 3-year-old in the back seat who was murdered. The 3-year-old and the pregnant mom. Somebody said I'm preaching tonight. You know, I haven't said much because I wanted to do it in the right way and I didn't want to pander. You know, I keep it 100 and I want to do it right. You know what I'm saying? It's no real right way to address shit, but I want to do it authentically from my heart. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm going to read this article to you, for those of you who may not know. A 24-year-old man has been arrested and charged with fatally shooting a woman pregnant with his unborn son and killing her 3-year-old daughter, then leaving them dead in her car parked in the Southwest Baltimore neighborhood. Devin Sample, who lives with his motherfucking grandmother, bitch, tired, in nearby Beachfield, that's over in Southwest Baltimore, for those of you who don't know, gunned down Cheyenne Miller while she was 8 months pregnant with his baby, police wrote in charging documents. Sample also allegedly shot and killed her 3-year-old daughter, Shania Gilmore. Sample remained held Saturday at the Baltimore Central Booking and Intake Center, charged with 16 counts ranging from first-degree murder of the mother and girl to committing the crime of violence against a pregnant person. Online court records did not list a defense attorney. And who the fuck is going to take this case, bitch? Okay? He's scheduled for a preliminary court hearing August 4th. Police found Miller and her daughter shot to death Friday afternoon inside her gray Subaru. The car was parked in the 200 block of Boswell Road in the Westgate neighborhood. Neighbors had noticed the woman inside and called the police, worrying she might have overdosed because meth, drugs is a problem. So I can understand the neighbors thinking that. Officers found 9mm shell casings outside the Subaru and on the back seat. In charging documents, officers wrote that they checked police databases and found the same Subaru had been stopped about a mile away last month with Sample behind the wheel. So this motherfucker was driving the goddamn car. You dumbass. You gonna commit a crime and leave Detroit. World's dumbest fucking criminals. He was pulled over for allegedly driving without insurance or registration, among other traffic offenses. On Friday, police went to Sample's home in the 4800 block of Melbourne Road and spoke to his grandmother. According to charging documents, she told officers that Miller and her daughter had been over Thursday evening. When asked for Mr. Sample's whereabouts, she advised officers that Mr. Sample was not home. The officers told her they were obtaining a warrant to search the house. After being advised this by the police, she advised officers that Mr. Sample was on the second floor. So, Grandma, I know this is your baby, but I know you know he did this shit. After a woman who answered at the home of Sample and his grandmother on Saturday evening declined to comment. Sample was arrested and taken for a police interview. Officers also recovered surveillance cameras from the crime scene. The footage showed that around 11 p.m. Thursday, a black BMW pulled into the block, followed by Miller's Subaru. Officers wrote that the BMW is registered to Sample, and they saw it parked on... Not only is he a fucking loser, but he's fucking stupid. Okay? On the surveillance camera footage Thursday night, someone exited the BMW and went to the Subaru. A muzzle flash is observed from within the victim's vehicle, officers wrote. A second muzzle flash is observed outside of the driver's side of the vehicle. Then the BMW drives away, leaving the Subaru. When interviewed by officers, Sample initially denied being present at the scene. Then they confronted him with the video, and he admitted to driving a BMW, parking at the scene, and sitting in the Subaru with Miller and her daughter. However, Mr. Sample claims he got into his car and left the area and never saw the victims again. Online court records show Sample has a drug case pending in Baltimore County, but no other criminal record. Miller's mother, Cherie Reed, has said her granddaughter was preparing to start pre-kindergarten. Reed said that the family was planning a baby shower for Miller. Saturday afternoon, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison released a statement commending officers for their hard work and quick arrests. Mother, stop babying your sons. Mother, stop babying your sons. Make him be the man. Make him be a man. That's the only way he's going to learn. You got to let him fall on his face. Let me tell you something. The best gift that my mother gave me is not helping me. I was mad at her for years. My mother made me pay rent when I got a job. When I left the house, my mother didn't help me. I was homeless, I was living on the streets, but I figured it out. And it's the best gift she gave me because it taught me accountability and responsibility. Mothers, stop enabling your children. Grandma, how can you in good conscience I don't give a fuck how much you love them. Because one thing Diane always told me, that's my mom's name if you're not familiar. One thing she always told me, and I want to get up close here so you can see it. One thing that my mother always told me, she said, if the police ever come to my door, I'm going to tell them to lock your ass up. If I ever find out you did something you wasn't supposed to do, I'm turning your ass in myself. Oh yeah, Antoinette, the girls wasn't ready for this one. And somebody just said in the chat, I missed it, make him be a man, not your man. I think that's so true. Don't be babying your sons. Make them have accountability. Because, see, if he was a man, he'd understand, yeah, I may not be ready for a child right now. I may not be ready for a child right now. But guess what? Guess what? I gotta be a man and take care of my shit. You know why he probably killed that girl? And this is just me speculating. He didn't want that goddamn baby. And the shit started getting real because she was 8 months pregnant and the reality set in on his ass. The reality set in on his ass and he realized, okay, he realized that the baby was here at this point. So you really killed 3 people because that baby was 8 months. So that's triple murder. If you don't want the kid, if you don't want kids, wear the condom. And I don't want to hear that excuse of, I don't like the way it feel. Or it's too tight. Nigga, your dick ain't that damn big for the condom to be tight. Okay? I done saw more baggy magnums in my life than I'd like to remember. Okay? So cut the bullshit. Okay? Cut the bullshit. And guys, I didn't mean to make y'all laugh, but bitch, that's just real tea. If you don't want the kid, then fine. I would rather you have been an ain't shit father that got to get dragged down to child support. You didn't have to kill those ladies. You killed a 3-year-old girl, a 20-something-year-old woman, and an 8-month-old human being. And I don't know what's going to happen when you go to jail because they're going to get you. But I say this, that this is a lesson on responsibility. Once again, mothers, do not baby your sons. If I ever have a son, I'm going to be on his ass. Acrylics and all, bitch. I'm going to be on his ass. Because there has to be some accountability and responsibility in the community. Okay? And I feel like this. We are living, it's a certain generation, and I feel like I'm a part of this generation, where a lot of us were raised by single parents, single mothers. And what happens is, and this is not any like clinical observation. I'm not a psychologist, a therapist, or anything like that. So please, don't try to cancel me because you think I'm Umar or somebody like that. But I personally feel like from what I've seen, there's a generation of men who have been raised by single mothers. And these mothers have treated their sons like their husbands. Not in no nasty way, but psychologically. Okay? Whereas though they're making any excuse for their kids, any excuse for their sons, they're not making them be accountable for shit. They will go up to school and cuss the teacher out knowing that their child is bad. My mother, you know, it's so crazy because I got to tribute my mom tonight because I realized how much of a service she did me. I had a job at 15 years old. I was bringing my own income in. My mother didn't pay for not near prom, not near class due. She said, you are a man, and the world is not going to baby you. You have a job. I paid for my own deodorant, small shit. Of course, there's certain things, I lived at home and things like that. But I paid for those things. And you know what's crazy? I hated it. But guess what? I never went back home to live with my mother. When I left, I never went back home. I got a song, Boys Don't Cry. When I say stepped off the porch and never went back to mommy house, that's the realest shit I ever wrote. But you know why I was able to do that? Because my mother had already prepared me to survive. Yes, my mother was like, your biological father's not around. My relationship with my stepfather was very shaky. But she said, we're not going to use that as an excuse for you to not man up and be who you're supposed to be. So, Mom, make his ass get a job. Mom, make his ass get the fuck up. If he ain't paying a bill, he ain't got to say. If he can't buy deodorant, you don't need to buy him Yeezys. So what? He finally got a good grade this year. That's what he's supposed to do. Because that's his life, not yours. Because guess what, Mom? When he do some nut-ass shit like this young man did, you can't help him. And guess what? Nobody's going to feel bad for you, Mom. Nobody's going to feel bad for him. They're going to be sitting here saying the same shit that I'm saying to you on this live tonight. Okay? Dad, on Father's Day, Dad, go see your son. If you're not in the home, go see your son. And I know sometimes it may be difficult to do that because of the relationship you may have with Mom. But if you got to go downtown and get visitation ordinances or parameters into effect, if you got to do that, do that. Stop being lazy, because you're being lazy. Okay? Stop being lazy and saying just because, oh, she won't let me see my son. Take her ass downtown just like she will take your ass downtown. If it's that deep. Take her downtown. I guarantee you, there's not going to be somebody, nobody's going to say, oh, bitch, he's a terrible dad. He took his baby mother downtown so that he could get visitation for his son. Nobody's going to say that. The court may not give you full custody because typically they do side with moms as far as that custody shit is concerned. But nobody is going to say, oh, he want to see his child. He fucked up. He taking her downtown. Okay? And I feel like we've got to take ownership. We've got to take ownership, guys. We are in a place as a community where shit is starting to change. Even as you look at the scope of Black America, we are not monolithic. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of changes happening, a lot of awakenings happening. And as Black men, we have to step up to the bar. Step up to the plate. And also, as Black people, and this is just a black people, we have to recognize that we are not the same black people from 50 to 60 years ago. There's a huge dichotomy and shift of what black is now. What do black people look like now? Our experiences are the same, but they're so different. Mom, you may say, what is your idea of, I don't want this teacher teaching my son, or this gay black person teaching my son, or this lesbian teaching my son. They may end up being, in a lot of cases, the best teachers that these kids have. And I personally, I feel like I could be a teacher, but I would never want to be a teacher. Because I swear to God, I'll be done knock like half the parents out. Because you're not going to talk to me crazy. You're not going to come to me waving your hands when I'm paying for shit in my own classroom because you don't want to see in the school supply list of school. I couldn't be a teacher because I swear to God, we'll be boxing every other motherfucking day with parents. Shout out to teachers. But as a community, we've got to step up to the plate. Black men, we have to step up to the plate. And I know it's hard. It's tough being a black man. It's hard. But you've been doing this your whole life. You know how this works. It's another day at the office, baby. It takes a lot to be you. And can't nobody be you like you can be you. Can't nobody be us like we can be us. And I'm going to leave that at that. But I wanted to address that because I felt like it was important. And you may agree, you may disagree, but have the conversation. Have the conversation. Instead of canceling that person, talk to that person. Sis, let's go out for a drink. Let's go out for coffee. I want to understand why you feel the way that you do. Why is this triggering you so much? Canceling people means that you both are not capable of having an adult conversation to work out your differences. Cancel. Oh, cancel. Oh, cancel. Cancel. J. Cole and No Name. Cancel J. Cole. Have the discussion. And if you can't agree to disagree. And just because you agree to disagree, don't mean that either one of you are bad people. It don't mean that if you see that person in dire straits that you can't help them. It just means that in this situation, we have two different ways of viewing it. It doesn't mean that one is right. It doesn't mean that one is better. It doesn't mean that one is worse. It just means that we are human fucking beings who are nuanced and three-dimensional. Somebody said they'll cancel if it's their money, bitch. You right about that. Don't play with my coins. But y'all know what I mean. Now, on a lighter note, because I done gave myself a headache with this one. This Trump rally, bitch. Here's the thing. I feel like here's the thing, and this is my commentary on that, and I'm going to let everybody go in a minute because we've been on, we heading into an hour. Here's the thing. Part of me is very excited and very happy that a lot of these TikTok and K-pop and young people reserved these tickets and got his ass with this rally. And part of me says, people are finally getting tired of his shit. But then part of me worries that, what, did the people just not show up because they couldn't get tickets? Or did the people not show up? Because typically, even if, with these rallies, even if it's capacity, you'll still see people showing up outside even if they can't get in. Diamond and Silk, y'all are going to live to regret this time in history. I've never seen, and a lot of people say they're on payroll. Every check ain't worth it, sis. Every check ain't worth it. Some of the things that these two women were saying, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Then you have the situation in Kentucky, because you have the elections coming up there, where they are reducing polling places due to COVID. And it went from like 3,000 polling locations to 200 or something crazy like that. And this is where Mitch McConnell seat is up for re-election. So you already know what that's given. It's just a lot. It's a lot. But I'm happy that he had to take that walk of shame off of Air Force One. I'm happy. I'm happy that our young people, shout out to young people. I am so pleased with the youth of this country for utilizing their platforms, their technology, and their savvy to, even if some of them can't vote, because these are 15 and 16-year-olds that reserve these tickets. They can't even vote, but they are doing their part and doing what they can to enact change. And I think that that's so, so important. So important. Just a heads up, because I want to close this out before they cut me off, because, Facebook tries me sometimes. We are going to read this Bolton book. Now, like I said at the beginning at the top of the meeting, I am skimming through it because I have the PDF. I got a free copy. I know we're not so, piracy. I'm usually against this, but, and people ask me, they say, you going to read the book? Like, a lot of people want me to read the book, and you have some people that was like, well, don't support him, don't buy his book. Well, ain't nobody going to be buying the book because the shit done got leaked all over the internet. So his sales going to be trash. Not unless, somebody, I don't know, his sales going to be trash anyway. But I want to read the book, and I'm going to read through certain excerpts because Trump's family member, his niece or his aunt or somebody, put out a book as well. And I want to kind of look at the psychology of the candidate, of the president, rather, and see how we got here. How is a person like that made? So we're going to look into all of that. And the reading will start Tuesday at 7 p.m. We'll go for about an hour, and we'll start the book. So if you haven't gotten your free PDF copy, bitch, it's all over Twitter, all over the internet. You can find it. Okay? We're going to go ahead and get started on that on Tuesday. Until then, his niece wrote the book. Until then, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the notification at the top of the bell. Also, I want to send a special shout out to my cabinet members that I saw today. Some of you out as I performed for the Creative Alliance's Sidewalk Serenade series. I went to 3 different homes today, socially distanced outside, and performed a few records for the communities in those respective areas. It was a lot of fun and very rewarding. If you're not following me on social media, you can follow me at Dapper Dan Midas, DAPPER DANMIDAS, on all social media platforms. Until then, this has been an intense meeting. It's been a lot, but it was necessary, and I felt like I wanted to address it. and need it and do what I have to do. I will see you guys Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get your popcorn, bitch, because you don't know nobody read this shit like I read this shit. We gonna kill this shit. Deuces. Y'all be safe.